Hello everyone, welcome to Spring Java Lab. In today's video, we'll see how we can implement skip and retry in Spring Batch. So the first question is why we need retry. So retry is for the temporary issue. Let's say from the batch application, you are calling some third-party REST API and that API is down. Then for that particular records, you should retry because it is a temporary error. When you retry after a few seconds, there is a chance that it will process successfully. And skip is for the bad data. Let's say from the REST API you are getting bad request exception, means your data is not valid. In such cases you don't need to retry because the data itself is invalid. So we should skip that record and we should move ahead to the next record. So this was the theory part. Now we will go to the implementation part. So here you can see I have one file person.csv which is inside the resources directory, and for each of this record we will be simulating, we are calling some third party REST API. Let me show you how. So here, as you can see, I have one step with the reader, writer and processor. This is a very simple basic example. If you have not watched my video on Spring Batch reader, writer and processor, the link is in the I button and in the pinned comment. You can go and check that video first. So here we are reading the CSV file using flat file ItemReader. Here I have provided the names as ID, name and email because that are the header of our CSV file. Also the first line of the CSV is the header. So we need to skip that. So I have provided line to skip as 1. Next, I have provided the target type as person. So each row of this CSV will be mapped to the person object. And person class is very simple. It contains the same three fields, ID, name and email. Next is the processor. From the processor, I have just simulated we are calling some third party REST API. So here you can see if the email is retry, then until third attempt we are throwing API timeout exception, and if the email contains bad request, we will be simply simulating the bad request exceptions. And for the writer, I have simply implemented ItemWriter. Here I just have added one log statement. In real world, this will be the place where you can add the database logic to store this data in the database. But in this video, our focus is on the skip and retry. So how we can implement that? So that will be inside the step. So here I have already defined one step as I discussed with a reader, writer and processor. Now we will discuss how we can implement skip and retry here. And before implementing skip and retry, guys, one request, please like this video and subscribe to my channel, as this is a new YouTube channel. I need your support to grow this channel. Also, you can comment out which videos you want next on this channel, and if you face any difficulties while implementing the skip and retry, you can mention that in the comment. I will love to help you. Now let's see how we can implement retry. So for that we just need to add .fault tolerance. Then we need to provide out for which exception we need to retry. So here I will be providing retry for the timeout, as this is a temporary error. So I will provide API timeout exception dot pass. And next we need to provide retry limit, that is the number of times you want to retry. So here I am providing retry limit as 3. Next we will see how we can skip the particular exception. For that we need to provide the class again in the skip. So here we want to skip which exception? We want to skip bad request exception because it is an invalid data, so there is no meaning to retry. So I will be providing skip bad request exception. Next we need to provide number of records we can skip. So that I will be providing using skip limit. So here I am providing skip limit as 5. So up to 5 invalid record, the batch will continue processing. Whenever it will get 6 invalid record, the batch will fail. Now for the retry, let's say you want to retry at particular interval like every 2 seconds, every 3 seconds. So that we can provide using FixedBackOffPolicy. So I will be creating the object of FixedBackOffPolicy. And here we need to provide the time. So that we can do it using this setter method. And here I am providing the time in milliseconds. So let's say we want to retry after every 2 seconds. Okay. So I have provided 2000 milliseconds, and we need to configure this inside our steps. So here I will be providing backoff policy. So with this we have completed the configuration part. Now we will be running the batch application and see everything in action. So let me start the server now. Now our application is up, and here we can see we have one record with the email retry@yopmail.com, and based on our simulator we will be throwing API timeout exception for the first 2 attempts, and on the third attempt this record should be successfully processed, right? And we have the retry limit as 3, so we can see whether retry is working fine or not. Also we have the skip limit as 5, and we have exactly 5 records with a bad request email. So now we can go ahead and trigger the job. So for that I have prepared one controller, so we'll be hitting the REST endpoint to trigger the job. Before triggering the job, let me just clear the logs. Now let's go to the browser and hit the REST endpoint to trigger the job. So I will be hitting localhost import person job, and here we will be getting the message that the job has been invoked. Now we can go and monitor the logs. Now let's check log for each record of the person.csv. So for the first record, john@yopmail.com, we are getting the message from the processor that the user has been processed successfully, right? This is from our simulator. And from the writer as well, we are getting that we are storing the person with john@yopmail.com. So this record has been processed successfully. Now let's focus on the retry@yopmail.com. So as per our batch configuration, we will be retrying until third attempt whenever we get API timeout exception. And from our simulator for the email retry@yopmail.com, we are explicitly throwing API timeout exception and we are logging the attempt as well. And until the third attempt, right? On third attempt, we are successfully processing it further. So from the logs, we can confirm whether retry is working or not. So here you can see it is logging skipping attempt 1 for the retry@yopmail. Then again it is retried. So it is logging skipping attempt 2. And on the third attempt, we can see it has been processed successfully. This message is coming from the last line. And as it is processed by the processor, this record is further sent to the writer. And even we can see this message that storing the person with email retry@yopmail.com. Now if we talk about the bad request one, it should be skipped, it should not be retry. And based on our configuration in the simulator, whenever the email contains bad request, we are logging this message and throwing the bad request exception. So for this email badrequest1@yopmail.com, we are seeing this message throwing exception for email exactly one time in the log. That means it is not retried and this particular record has been skipped. Now if we check our skip limit, we have the skip limit of 5 and we have exactly 5 invalid records in this file. So the batch is successfully completed since the number of invalid records is within the skip limit. Now to play around, let's change the skip limit to 4 and check whether the batch job is failing or not. So let me restart the server again. Now server has been restarted. Let me trigger the job. In this case, the job will fail because we have the skip limit of 4 and we have total 5 invalid record in our CSV file. So let's check the logs. So here you can see the job is failed with a message the skip limit of 4 has been exceeded, right? We can also check the job status and you can see the status is failed in this case. Okay. So with this, we can confirm our skip and retry configuration is working fine. Before completing this, let me show you the block that I have written. You will find the link of this in the pinned comment and in the I button. So here you can find different articles on Spring Batch and even you can find different articles on Spring Boot and Java interview questions. So do check it out. And if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video. Thank you. See you in the next video. Bye bye.